I always record, okay, so I'm going to let you know I'm recording now. It was very off the cuff, this session, because I've had, I know a lot of people have been experiencing the problems with Corona and having childcare issues, and that's really what happened with me last week. So there was just no chance, and I only really figured out that I could actually do it today. So I've not promoted it as I normally would, yeah, because I'd normally have more people, okay? But anyway, saying that, we can still begin, because what I like to do is I can also send this out. But you know, if you've got any questions as we go through this, it is very informal. Rebecca, yourself, we can discuss anything in particular as you go through this. I think we've got another person, so I'm just gonna admit. Let's see if I can. Why is it not letting me? Ah, okay. So is that Glyn? I think Glyn's also coming in as well. So my name is Sue, and my background is I am actually a global career coach. That is what I do. So what I try and do is I help people to get hired. I also work with freelancers, people that are looking to get a consistent stream of clients. So that's really what I'm looking at is getting people, you know, the jobs that they're looking for. And today's session, slightly, as I said to you, I'm going to be very honest with you, it's slightly, you know, a little bit kind of ad hoc in terms of I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this session because of childcare issues with Corona and stuff like that. But it looks like we can do it, so all good. So this session is all to do with that we tend to follow this in terms of the old school approach when we look for a job. And what I really want to go through, and I'm going to set an agenda so that we can get some benefit from this. So I'm going to tell you what you do, probably without realizing what you do. And then I'm going to tell you what you should do, yeah? And maybe the governments can use this. At this type of philosophy, it might be a strategy, hey, who knows, yeah? So we're going to look at a strategy, and we're going to have a real agenda, and then maybe we can also discuss, you know, individual cases. If you want to, you know, talk about yourself, that's great, we can do that as well, and there's a Q&A at the end. So you know my background, I am a global career coach, and I do help people to get hired, and really what I want to focus on is that people only really think about the hiring situation when they're in trouble. Oh, doesn't that sound familiar with Corona? Where's the stockpile? Where's the PPE? Yeah? Okay, so what I'm trying to say to you is that you ultimately need to be thinking about this in a different way, okay? So we need to be saying to ourselves, okay, generally speaking, we only look at, and I call it career management, by the way. And what we really need to be thinking about is actually career management should be happening throughout your career. But generally what happens is that we only have to put into place when there's actually an issue. Yeah? We will only actually do something normally when there is a pain attached. So I don't have a job, yeah? Yeah, and what I want to try and really get across to people is if we look at it in a completely different way and take on board that actually if we have a strategy and we're looking at putting this into place, I'm just going to omit Linda, then this is actually going to help you to actually kind of take your career, you know, forward. Yeah, into into maybe situations that you just didn't think possible. So reality is, and I'm going to ask you questions here, but what I've realised is that most people do a really good job in what they're doing. The problem is the only people that know they're doing a good job is the four walls of that company. Am I correct? So you're good within that organisation, but the problem is that that is not getting outside of those four walls. So the reality is that you don't get companies kind of knocking on your door. And ultimately, that's what you need to be thinking about. Career management that's really what it should be about. And I will explain why you don't do it, okay? So don't worry about that. And then I'll explain what you should be thinking about as well. But that, to me, is the biggest thing that you need to take from this. You know, if you're really honest with yourself, you only really look at stuff like this when there is actually a pain attached. So what does that actually mean? Let's really kind of look at that. That means that you need to have certain things in place that you can utilize if an opportunity comes up. That's one way we could say. I'm going to tell you what you should be doing, but that's the minimum. So like you build a house, you need to have bloody good foundations for that, to support that house. So to me, your LinkedIn profile, your CV, your resume, whatever you want to call it, those things need to be really, really good. The problem is that most people don't really understand what really good is. So what they think is really good is actually normally crap. Sorry to say this. I'm very blunt, to the point, and I will just tell you as it is. Yeah, because I'm not going to beat around the bush and say, okay, that looks nice. So I'll give you an example. Today, somebody got into contact with me via LinkedIn and was interested in how I help, a person get clients. So maybe different situation, but actually, when you look at the foundations, it's very similar. Okay, the foundations need to be in place. And when I looked at his LinkedIn profile, it looked good. Yeah, I'm not going to deny it. But it was all about him. Right, let me explain what that means. It just talked about him. This is the awards that I've got. This is the organizations. This is I'm the best, I do this. But actually, the thing that he should have been talking about is the people that he serves. I couldn't work out from his profile who he was trying to target. Work it out. So what I'm trying to say to you is that you only get hired because there is a problem, and you need to be making sure that in your resume and your LinkedIn profile that you are showcasing that you are the solution to their problems. And then that is one of the things that people just don't get. They just don't get it. Yeah. So what happens is they think that they've got something good, and it did look good. But when you're trying to ask yourself, is this fit for purpose? I would argue that it wasn't fit for purpose, because it didn't really help the client to understand, this is how I can help you. Another thing that you want to be thinking, so if we just go back to basics where I said about the foundations, yeah? So the foundations to that house, you need to be making sure, yeah, that they're in place before you start building. But the same thing happens with the LinkedIn profile or the CV. So the foundations that you need to be asking yourself is, okay, does this CV get me to a coffee, or does it get me to an interview? And if it's not doing those things, then ultimately it's not fit for purpose. So a LinkedIn profile, okay, is a LinkedIn profile fit for purpose? Well, a great way to realize if your LinkedIn profile is fit for purpose is basically to jump on LinkedIn, and actually, by all means, you can do that now. Go and jump onto LinkedIn for me and go and look at, is anybody able to do this? Because this is normally quite interesting. If you go onto LinkedIn, this is a real good KPI. It's a key performance indicator. And what you're looking for is how many people have viewed your profile over 90 days. Yeah? So this is not me just talking about it. This is actually working out, actually, is this fit for purpose? So what is a good LinkedIn profile? Well, a good LinkedIn profile is one where the content is aimed at your audience, and then it's seen by those people. Yeah, shocking. Yeah, but it might be obvious, but that's not what people are doing. The reality is people go onto LinkedIn and they expect, yeah, they stick in the little keywords, yeah, I'm sure you've been all told this, it's all garbage, yeah? It is to a certain point, okay? It is to a certain point. It's not going to get you, you know, the types of viewbacks that you need, yeah? So I'll give you an example. Let me just go and look at, and I will share the screen, but let me just, 1 second. I know I'm not sharing the screen at the moment, but if you want to, feel free to jump onto LinkedIn. Maybe I should have had this up before. And if you go to the home button on LinkedIn, there will be a picture of you on the left-hand side of the screen. And what you're really looking at is how many people have viewed your profile over that period. So let me just share the screen with you. Okay, 1 second, and I'm still being very slow. Share, so you can see. So we're just going to share this screen. So that's the part here that you need to be looking at. So you can see who's viewed my profile, and that number is 1688. I can't, 1684, right? Okay, so 1 second. Just gonna okay, so you can see, okay, that's what you need to be kind of looking at. Okay, you need to be saying to yourself, okay, ultimately, if I want to get clients or I want to get people to hire me, then they need to be able to see you. If they can't see you, they can't hire you. Does that make sense, everybody? Is anybody going to share what they're currently doing at the moment? Is anybody willing to share what you've got, your statistics?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, fantastic. You tell me what you've got. What did you just tell me and I missed it?
Susan, I've got 70. This is Rebecca.
Right. Okay. So really, okay, if you've got 70, that means it's 70 over 90 days. Yeah. So it's less than 1 a day. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just basically trying to say to you, okay, ultimately, you need to be looking at it a different way. Yeah. You need to be saying to yourself, okay, if I want to be getting more clients or getting hired, you ultimately need to make sure that your profile is geared to the audience. Then it needs to be seen by the right people. And the right people are those that can hire you for that role or that particular job that you're looking for. Yeah. Does that, I think it's pretty obvious what I'm talking about. So does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, and one other thing, am I right as well in my thinking that people tend to, you know, only do something when there's a pay attached? Yeah?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like, we're all like that, yeah? You know, let's be honest, yeah? We're getting to the summer months and then you want to lose weight, yeah? Yeah, but the thing is what I'm trying to say is that you need to be thinking about this more in a strategic way. If you ultimately want more clients, then you need to be thinking about, okay, my foundations, are they actually fit for purpose? And if not, you might need to make the decision. And I will argue this, but I am biased. So I'm going to say to you, if you try and do it yourself, then you will learn by trial and error. If you want somebody professional to do it, then they would take that guesswork away from you and help you to get it, you know, right first time. And that's the way that you need to be thinking about. And the reality, if we go back to what we were doing maybe 20 years ago, okay, so 20 years ago, what we tended to do, and I'm sure that you would agree with me, is that we tended to have what was it? We tended to get jobs or find jobs through. I'm just trying to get people onto this. There's more people trying to get in, so that's why I keep on stopping. Right, and I can't seem to get that working for some reason. Okay, so back in the day, you know, you used to get a role. You'd see a role in the newspaper. Yeah, before online was coming, you'd circle that role. Do you remember it? Okay. And then you would apply for that particular job. Now, you could say to yourself, okay, maybe they were the good old days, but you know, but it was very kind of, how can I put it? It was very one way. Yeah, you were reacting to something, and I'm saying to you, actually, you've got more control than you think, which is good. Yeah, you've actually got more control about how you go forward with regard to your career management. Yeah, you know, because of the technology that is now available now. Yeah, so it's not necessarily a bad thing that we've got the likes of LinkedIn, you know, that we've got other opportunities, because it means that actually you can actually control the narrative. Yeah, think about what I'm saying. You can control the narrative. You can be making sure that what you want out there, you know, is seen by the people that you want to see. Yeah. So that's actually that's a different way to look at it as well. So before we used to be quite reactive, but now we can be quite, you know, we've got this opportunity to kind of put anything that we like out there. Yeah, but you do see people making mistakes with this. Yeah, that's where, you know, you've seen people losing jobs with social media. And I'm not saying that you're going to be, you know, that it's not particularly the word stupid, but I'll give you an example. Okay, there was in the UK, I don't know if anybody's from the UK, but there was ministers, MPs from Wales that were talking on Zoom, but they didn't realise actually the volume was on, and one MP was criticising another MP, and everybody could hear that. It's probably not that funny, but you could see the faces, like, the microphone's on, the microphone's on, the microphone's on, yeah? But that incident was all then over social media, and how unprofessional that he was, okay? So there's pros and always cons to everything, but sometimes what I'm trying to say to you is actually, you've got this opportunity to actually build your brand, yeah? Based on what you want, not at the control of what you think that your managers would say. It's based on what you want. And that does give you a lot of ownership. And a lot of the times people will come to me and they will say, Susan, it's my age. Yeah, they do. And I go, I don't think, I say to them, actually, I say, okay, if that's what you think, that's fine. But let me see your LinkedIn profile. Let me see that CV, that resume that you've got. And actually, 90% of the time, it's how they're presenting themselves. Yeah. There was a great example of this where I was working, it's actually on my website. I was working with a client. He did become a client. His name was Ken. You can see this on my website. It's on the success page, and I will send this out in the video that I'll send out with it. And Ken was really trying to get a job. He was like, I've been in this industry for, I think he said 36 years. Yeah. He was saying to me, it's age, it's age, it's age. And I said to him, let me see that CV of yours, or your resume, as you Americans would call it. Yeah. I seen it and I said, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at this moment in time. Okay. And that was good, because actually what he had put this assumption that it was age, which is something that he can't control. And then I said to him, actually, I don't think that is the case. I think it's the tools that you are using. And we looked at those tools. I'm actually going to show you because it is a great example. I'm just going to see if I can hold this out. And it was the tools that he was using that helped him ultimately get hired. Okay, so let me just find this, because this is, sometimes it's good if it's from his words rather than from what I'm saying. And I will share the screen as well. Okay, so let me share screen and find Zoom again. Right, so which one? Okay, let me just figure that out. Sorry about this. So there's Ken. And so when we looked again at what he was doing, what he was putting out there, he had literally no interviews at that point. And then he said to me, you know, it's pretty not great. Yeah. And then he actually landed two offers, which is brilliant. And he was on the way, he said, probably to a third. And then he started his new position as a senior risk director for a top 25 US bank. Okay. And he goes through that approach in terms of how we were kind of changing that narrative, something that he could ultimately control. Yeah. So that's kind of like the first step. And what we were doing there was that, you know, that CV, that LinkedIn profile, and helping him, you know, to actually move forward. Yeah. So it was a really great success story, to be honest with you. And that's ultimately what we want to be doing. Okay. I've actually wrote some notes here. I told you it's informal. Okay. So, so that's what I think, that's what we were talking about before, you know, why you need to think about this a different way. You have ultimately got, you know, a lot of opportunity with with technology, but it's again how you go about doing that. I'll also give you an example of how I've used it. So I'll be very frank with you. So I was in the UK and I was a career coach, and I was helping people, and I was working with younger people at that time. Okay, so we're talking like you 17 to 18-year-olds, and I can remember ultimately moving to London, and I didn't know anybody there. But what I had been doing in my time is that I'd been building my brand. Okay, I was putting my name out all the time at that point, and just trying to be very active. And so when I did move to London, and it was because of a boy. Yeah, I did marry that boy, so you know that was a good thing. Yeah, had baby, but at the time it was risky because there was no real job for me. Yeah, there was nowhere. He got that job, I was kind of following along. But ultimately what I learned is that it was about the ability to build your name. And if you want to stop going through the old school approach, which is simply being reactive, yeah, you see a job, you apply for a job, then in some senses, you need to be willing to get your name out there and say, I'm here. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes that can be a good and bad thing. It depends on, you know, your level of how extrovert that you could be, but you can also tone this down as well. Yeah, it doesn't need to be, hey, look at me, this is what I'm doing. But I think what I'm trying to say to you is that ultimately, if what you really need to be doing is building your name and your reputation, and that needs to be outside of the four walls that you currently work. That's ultimately what you need to be thinking about doing. Yeah, you need to be building your reputation outside of the four walls that you currently work. And that's when you get people knocking on your door. So let me go back to my example of when I moved to London. So I moved to London, didn't have any job. I moved because, okay, we were both moving in together. He got that job. He was the first one to get that job. And then, okay, I was looking after that. And ultimately, when I did go about doing this, there were jobs available. They were zero contracts. It wasn't brilliant in terms of it. You know, let's be honest, a zero contract is never good. And I did accept that. But within 6 months, there was a fantastic opportunity that came around. And that opportunity was never advertised. It would never be advertised. It was an opportunity that would only go to somebody that they heard of, or that they knew, or that they had recommendations about. So the real crutch of this story is ultimately building your brand and I know Mark is on here as well. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
You're similar to me, Mark. I always think when I see you, you know, you and I are very similar in terms of, and one thing that I think I learned is that sometimes people see me as, like I had my own interests. Okay, so I was competing against theirs. Yeah, I'll give you a great example.
I'm not sure I follow. What do you mean?
Right, okay, let me give you an example. So I know that you've got a great website. Yeah, I've seen your website, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you do great stuff. And so I'll give you an example. I built my own website when I was a career coach, and it was targeted at young people. But then I was trying to work with, for example, like other organizations, huge organizations, and they didn't like me having that website. Yeah, they just did not like it. Yeah, and sometimes, even though that I was the best candidate for that particular role, and I don't mean to like, yeah, I just knew that I was compared to other people that were going for it. I can remember being ultimately like gobsmacked one day when they didn't ask me, to be kind of like this advisor within London. I just couldn't get over it. And then it come down to when I really thought about it, it was because they see me as potentially poaching. Yeah, because I had this probably. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say to you is that when you do actually, you've got to be careful. Yeah, you've got to be careful. You've got to kind of say to yourself, okay, you know, I can look back and I can be very honest now and go, okay, that must have been the reason. Yeah, because I'd done a lot of work for them in the past, and they liked what I did. It just didn't make sense that I wasn't following it through to me. And I think that ultimately they seen that maybe I could maybe step in and do their role. Yeah, and I did that. Okay.
Kind of, at the heart of it, I don't want to sound jilted there, but in the end, you have to realize that certain elements in people's psyche is that there's jealousy, sometimes pettiness, fear or threat.
Yeah, they were looking at it. I can see my kids.
I think I understand the line that you're going on to.
Yeah, and it's not rational. Yeah, it's not rational. I'm going to have to plug that in.
About 3 weeks ago, three weeks ago, I did a little focus group, particularly with after you're talking about just pulling my hair out and frustrated. It's, what is wrong with you? Cannot you see? There's like a big 2x4 that's coming and smacking you inside of the head. Why don't you see what I see?
Yeah.
I held some focus groups, and with some target audiences, and unfortunately Zoom and my internet there cut out at the worst possible time. But it was actually a gift in disguise, and that when I was down, the recording apparently on Zoom still worked for the other people that were online.
Oh, right.
And then when I went back and listened to the recording, I thought I'd lost everything. But here's what ended up happening. Some of them started talking and saying stuff when I wasn't in the room. And I heard after the fact, I'm going to keep quiet about this. And it really was really related. One of them stated, sounds like he wants to replace us.
There you go. Yeah.
Sounds like he wants to replace us. So yeah, I don't know how to relate
you've got to be, it's so, sometimes, you know, sometimes it doesn't make sense, rhyme or reason why people do things. But I think ultimately, Mark, you need to look at it like that could be happening. Yeah. And then you can adjust the narrative in terms of what you want to do. So you need to understand that people are people.
I'm also reminded there's a book, if anybody's ever read it, it's Robert Greene, and it's called The 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, right, okay.
It's almost a Machiavellian way of people's psychology about how to move it there. And this had been a book that I had just started reading at a point when I had been fired, actually, at one of my jobs, and was still really kind of reeling and angry of this. And no word of a lie, Robert Greene, the first sentence in his book, he says, "Never outshine the master." And he goes on a whole story of Louis the 14th. You know,
Yeah.
you know anything about Louis 14th? He had an ego the size of like Jupiter, right? You know, I
Yeah.
guess you did not insult or give Louis the bad thing. Of his minister of finance, who was a flamboyant man who went like this, and he went to. He says, "Your Majesty, I've put on this wonderful party for you. With it had just for you in your honor. It had fireworks, not only this, and these beautiful things. The catering was beautiful, like this, better than what Louis had normally done for it like this." And Louis looked at this and said, "The story is, he looked at it, he smiled, and didn't say anything. Turned around. The next day, he was fired. The next day, he was fired, and the guy that he put in place." Was humble and didn't say anything, didn't make a big problem there, did his job, stuck to his job, kept his nose out. He held that job for 40 years.
You've got to, it's a really tough one, but sometimes I look back in terms of how I was doing things, and there was a few times where they seen a conflict of interest, or they've seen that there is, she wants to do more, or it's not in line. They didn't think it was in line with what they wanted or whatever, but ultimately it came down to they ultimately thought maybe it was going to take things away. Okay, so if you ultimately want to kind of get clients and companies chasing you, you need to be thinking about it from that. You need to look at it from what are their problems, and making sure that there isn't that conflict of interest piece, and how do you change that narrative if you think that there could be. You need to be making sure that the tools are in place, so the resume, the LinkedIn profile. And I said to you before, or saying this before, Mark, that you got on the call, yes, the LinkedIn profile is important, but it needs to be seen by ultimately the right people. And that's key. And the way that you ultimately want to be looking at this is it's career management. This is not something that you do because there's a problem. This is something that you should just be doing, kind of like brushing the teeth. Now, the reason why people don't do it is because of, and I think you all probably know this, Mo, Linda, Mark, it's time. It takes time. That's why a lot of us don't kind of maybe focus on the.
Well, I think it's time, but the biggest thing is I don't mind putting the time in it, but if I know what I'm hitting, and I haven't, honestly, really still haven't, although I'm getting inklings here and there, I haven't nailed it down exactly. That secret sauce, if you will, that message that's going to resonate, that doesn't offend, that usually still pushes the envelope forward. I haven't figured that out. And the other thing about LinkedIn that's really so challenging is that, I mean, LinkedIn's policy says very clearly, you will only have one profile, or you will state, and you have to literally position things around one. And Mark, again, is a very multifaceted guy.
So,
multifaceted guy. I do more than one thing,
Okay, so I've said this before with you, Mark. You need to again look at the labour market information. Is there enough people to warrant what I do? And I had to make that decision myself. And that's something that you're going to need to think about. Is there enough people here for me to target to get employed or to get an income from this? So ultimately, this is what happened to me. I had to change my approach. I had to say, okay, I moved to London. They wanted to charge me less money in London than they did where I lived, in Liverpool, which makes really not from there, but it makes absolutely no sense at all, the capital. And so I ultimately went, that's it. I am not doing that anymore because, I need to be getting paid. So I would say that's step one that you need to be thinking about. But it can be just an adjustment. It might be that you say, so for example, I went from, working with young people, and I said, okay, now I'm going to work with director level people. And I've been doing that for a long time. So I made that decision, and that was an important key decision, because I knew that there was no way forward. You know, the salary was just going down. Yeah, down, down, and down, and down. Okay, so I had to make that adjustment. That was my decision. You don't have to do anything, but you know, I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. But then the next thing that you need to be saying to yourself is, you know, by the way, Mark, I know it says that you shouldn't have more than one profile, but you could. I'm not really advocating that for most people, by the way, but maybe for you that would be possible. Yeah. But let me come back to what I mean. So when I was talking to you before, well, talking to everybody before, is that your profile needs to be seen. So what I'm actually, you know, if you were looking to get a job, you know, back in the old school approach, you see a job, you apply for the job. What I'm actually saying to you guys, so girls, is that you need to be thinking it in a different way. You can be proactive. You know, so things, what I mean by proactive, you need to be identifying, well, who are my end users? Who is like my future boss? Yeah? And you get, you know, a big list of those people's names. And I know you have done this, Mark, I know that you've done it. And then you might get gatekeepers, okay? So gatekeepers could be those recruiters, okay? Or anybody, it could even be, you know, people that you know that work in that company that could introduce you to certain people.
Yeah, gatekeepers are a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so you could be looking at it like this. And one of the strategies that I like to do is I call it show and tell letter. And I think that you've got this already, Mark, but it's looking at, okay, you know, who is it that I want to be ultimately targeting? And this is good if you find that you are hitting a brick wall with, for example, HR. Yeah, it is good if you just find, okay, I'm sending out my resume, and it's not hitting the spot. Yeah. It's not getting me to that job. Then another way that you could look at it is actually miss out the middleman and go direct to the hiring manager.
Yeah, that ends up being the case. I've declared executive recruiters as public enemy number one.
They can be, yeah. But at the same time, they could be. Some of them could be actually good, and a way to liaise with, you know, is to say, you know, is to recognize what are they trying to do. Yeah, so you could be saying, hey, you know, I'm interested in this position. I realize, you know, that you've got a job to do. Yeah, your job is to sell me to your clients. Yeah. The one thing that you could be asking them is saying to them, you know, is there anything that I can do to help me sell me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask those types of questions. There's nothing wrong with saying that. So your ultimate goal is maybe to get into conversations with, you know, for example, those recruiters, if it's possible, or sending them a message where, you know, you say, well, you could be asking a clear question, which is, you know, are you even the right person? Step one. Yeah. You know, are you the right person? If not, can you signpost me to who would be? And then a great tip is to actually say at the bottom of it is, if I don't hear back, I'll touch base with you next week to see if it's possible, you know, to see, you know, the next, you know, a step forward or whatever. You need to rephrase it. But what you're letting them know clearly in that message is that you will be following up. Yeah. So actually, to move away from the old school approach, I'm actually saying to you that you could look at doing what I call a LinkedIn campaign to get you hired. Sounds a bit crazy, you could do. So you're looking at, okay, who is my end users? Yeah. Who is, you know, my my gatekeepers? You know, and you do need a lot of people for this. So there needs to be, you know,
I've done that. I've got a question for you on that one. because I in the past, a number of years ago, I did do it actually, LinkedIn, very extensive LinkedIn.
I remember you saying that.
Doing messaging, and I got some decent response from that. I even took the course to that effect, and I can't say I think my message itself was a little off, but I still made my course money back, so I broke even on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried another subsequent campaign about a year and a half later, and I did find that I think the response, I think my offering was a little bit, and my messaging campaign was broken up over a serious period of time, so I didn't go right for the jugular.
Yeah.
But I did find the response rate was a bit lower than that, directly to just simple messages. Are you witnessing or seeing or
there is definitely
a drop in engagement or recognizing towards LinkedIn messages, or no?
Well, there is at the moment. I'm not going to lie to people, but at the same time, we're in this age of Corona, and it's not going to go away, no matter how much we want it to, And I think, the penny's dawned is that it's just going to be, once everybody's out of lockdown, and the likelihood is, let's be honest, that we're going to go back into, some countries could go back into lockdown, until there's a vaccine. But I think what I'm trying to say to you is that ultimately the economy has got to get at some point back working again, that's got to happen in some way. So how that happens, I mean, in the UK they talked about social distancing, or that they're not referring it to as an exit strategy because they're saying there isn't an exit strategy at the moment. We're just looking at how we are going to manage this situation. And I think that there is still clearly a need. So the things that, I can do if I was doing somebody's LinkedIn campaign, and this is how you move away from being maybe the same old, the old school approach in terms of, okay, it's your job, I apply for a job. My approach is all about being proactive. So, I do the CV, do the LinkedIn profile. We actually look at the messaging together and look at, okay, what's going to work. And I like what you said, Mark, that you didn't go straight to the jugular and saying, this is what I do. You've got to give value to people. That's really important. And there's loads where you don't have to, it depends again who it is that you're targeting. So for example, if you're kind of speaking to, I don't know, a recruiter, you don't have to give, you don't have to give, you can go straight to the jugular. I'm still just trying to let this in 1 second. You can just go straight.
I think you have to with those folks. They have the attention span of a gnat.
Yeah, you do. But the great thing, what I do, for example, I'll give you an example of how if I was doing it with recruiters, for example, I would have maybe a series of 3 messages that are going out over a period of time. That's making sure, hey, that I'm sending you the groovy new CV that we've done for you. That is remember, with recruiters, they want to own that CV. So what that means is that they want to control that narrative. So it can't be anything fancy. It needs to be just the plain black and white document, okay? Because they don't want that company going direct to you because they want their call. So it just needs to make sure it can't be a fancy CV. But we're able then to, target, a list of recruiters. We're able to actually send them your CV, for example, and we're able to follow up at least another 2 times. So 3 messages will go out to that person. What I also like to do, which most people don't do, is I like to do what's called nice touches. So nice touches would be wishing somebody a happy birthday or happy anniversary, or you've got a new job, for example. And this is just a really clever way to get people's attention, I'm not gonna lie. But you can be very clever with this, right? So, the great thing with this, if you want to move away from the old school and go direct to getting client chasing youth, then you are trying to get engagement in some way. So one great thing that you can do with this is that for somebody's birthday, I'll just give you an example of what I do. It's not going to be right for everybody, and that's why we look at your individual case. But I would go, hi, happy birthday. 99% of the time they will send a response back because it's automated. And if you notice, everybody, you just press button on LinkedIn. It says, happy, thanks for the message or whatever it is. And then you can send it, once that happens, we can send a message to that person. And that could be something like, so this is what I do, is if it's somebody's birthday, I'll say, oh, hope you had a great day, yeah, or something along those lines. And then I'd say, I don't know, as it's your birthday, would you like a copy of, either of my books, which are on Amazon? And don't worry, I'm not, I would, that are free. Yeah, I'm not asking.
I'll offer up a book. Like I have a couple books, like offer up a book as for free for a birthday for somebody. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that works for me. Okay. I'm clearly saying that works for me. It wouldn't work for everybody, because if I'm asking somebody, for example, if they're coming to me to get hired and I'm offering them a book about how to get hired, perfecto, alignment, yeah? So that works. But the way that we construct the message is very clever, because I actually say, and neither might be appropriate this time, don't worry, yeah? So the way that I word the message is very clever, but it gets engagement. And what I'm trying to say to everybody is, what might work for me might not work for Linda, for example. So we would need to look at, okay, what could we do there? But it's a great way to start getting into conversations, because ultimately that's what you need to be doing. You need to generate conversations.
Yeah, I agree. That is sometimes the hardest is getting ghosted by.
Yeah, and that's why you don't need to take it personally. I've gone past taking anything like that personally, but it's just part and parcel. But the great thing about LinkedIn is it's very discreet. Nobody knows what you're doing. Yeah. And in that sense, it's pretty clever. Yeah, you can just go, okay, we settle out a LinkedIn campaign to get into conversations, and that's ultimately what we want to be speaking about. So we work out your audience, whoever your audience is, and I was just giving you examples. So end users, when I talk about end users, I definitely mean future bots. What's the bot?
Yeah.
Who are they? Gatekeepers, who could that be? It could be recruiters, it could be friends, colleagues in certain, companies. Yeah, we need to work those dimensions out. And it could be by region. Yeah, you could say, okay, I'm happy to look at, the UK, but also I'm looking at the US, yeah? So we need to be working out the demographics as well, and then start those conversations. But again, we can get quite clever with the messaging script. So does that make sense, what we've just been chatting about?
Yeah, it does, at least it does. I don't want to monopolize there's other people.
So no, it's always lovely speaking to you, Mark. What about you, Rebecca? What are you what are you looking for again? I think you were on another call, weren't you, Rebecca, in the past?
Yes.
Yes. You were. Yeah. So
yes.
Tell me more if you're open to
it. Yeah, absolutely. So I work in hospital setting and with physicians. Private practice used to be in a hospital, but we recently moved. Thanksgiving time, so the end of October, we lived in Texas, and then we moved to Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm not really used to the snow that much, so there's a little bit of an adjustment, but we got it under control.
Snow yesterday. I'm up in Canada. I can't believe it there, but yeah.
Yeah, we got snow earlier this week too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So the thing that I'm having a problem with is that, like, nobody outside of the four walls knows exactly what I do. So, like, in order for me to like put something on that, there has to be like a backstory because nobody has content.
Yeah.
So that's I find and is my biggest challenge. So I don't know,
I think
how to.
Yeah, okay. Right. So are you talking about the LinkedIn profile, or are you talking about just general personal branding? Just to be clear, what do you think your biggest need of is at the moment?
Sure. So just in general, like overall, when I get face to face, like I don't have a problem face to face, but it's hard like to put it on LinkedIn. Like
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I made this goal or that goal, and they want to know how I did that. Well, that's really easy to explain, but when you're just there on the profile, like I don't want to have to put like a block of,
Yeah. I understand.
backstory to get to the.
Well, if you want, Rebecca, we can have another conversation. Yeah, if you want to.
Okay. Sure.
Just send me an email. Anybody's more than welcome if somebody just wants to reach out. It's Susan Beck at live. I'll just give you the easy one, live.co.uk.
Okay.
I will see if I can find you, Rebecca, or just if you could, if you can just even just message me on LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
whichever's easiest, I will try and hunt you down. But I think it's probably a conversation. You're saying to me, okay, it's that storytelling piece in some senses, and you're right, that needs to be done. That's like, that needs to happen. Are you working at the moment? It sounds like you are.
I am not currently working. Like
Right.
I've had a ton of interviews, and the whole COVID has thrown a complete monkey wrench into the system.
I know.
Like, I mean, you'd think that like I would be, like I'm willing to work. Like I can do a lot of different things. I have a lot of experience, but I have to get past the people, past the panel, past, and it's even harder to get past the panel and just being like in a new region.
Okay, but it sounds
a
like
little different.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing well. Okay, Rebecca, so let's look at it in a positive way, because you said to me you've got interviews.
Oh yeah. I'm getting out there, so that's a good thing.
Okay. So we tell you what, reach out to me, and what we will do is look at, I think it depends on what you're looking at, but what we could look at is what's the most urgent need. Yeah, like Maslow's hierarchical needs, to try and fix that problem as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Okay.
So reach out to me. It's Susan Beck. I might actually just see if I can put it into chat. Has anybody else got any questions? And anybody is free to message me and say, okay, this is my issue. Yeah.
Well, maybe one thing. I mean, for somebody brand new, let's say never heard of you, or you've never yet had an opportunity to connect with. I struggle with the right entry point to say, hey, Susan, no pressure like this. I know this is a bit of particularly nowadays, it's like, you don't want to come off too pushy or aggressive.
Yeah.
I actually had some people say, this is really insensitive.
Yeah, so, you're never going to win everybody. Yeah, you're never going to win everybody. I think if you're sending a message out now, I think you've got to recognize the situation. Yeah. Because it's so bonkers. Yeah. So one of there was an email sent out which was like, win a trip to New York. No offense, it's awful, and the same thing is happening exactly. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's like me saying go and win a trip to London at the moment. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So I'm not trying to be mean to New York in any sense. I think the governor's doing a fantastic job in trying to look at that situation. But I think that you need to pay particular attention to the current situation. And I think even mentioning, hey, are you working from home, or, hopefully, it's not just, let's be really clear about it. It's not just about an inconvenience where we've got kids at home with us. Bloody hell, that's an inconvenience. That's why it didn't happen last week, my little live stream, So, I think, you know, for some people, you know, they could be experiencing loss. People could have died. Yeah. And hopefully I don't experience this, you know, where somebody else dies on me. Okay. So what I'm trying to say to you is that not a problem. I think somebody just is leaving. I think what you need to be aware of in the message needs to be some attention to the current situation. Yeah. Like keep safe.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, mentioning, you know, you're probably working from home or something like that. I think that's something that needs to be looked at, and I think I've been quick enough and changed that. And again, it depends on what you're doing. So Mark, you've got a particular, maybe you've got a different need. I don't know. I'd need to rethink a bit. It depends on who you're looking for. If you're looking for a full-time job, yeah.
Less so nowadays. I'm more into. I've got the full-time job that stabilized the income. As I said to the family, the patient financially, the patient that we stopped the bleeding.
Yeah.
Now I want
the Maslow's bit. Okay. So So if you're looking for then extra clients, then your target would be, okay, what can I try and give this person? Yeah. Where it doesn't come across as particularly salesy. I'll give you an example, right? This webinar is exactly what I'm promoting on LinkedIn at the moment. Yeah. I am not doing anything else where I try and sell on LinkedIn or do anything like that. I'm just giving things like this.
Yeah.
So I've said, current situation, I'm just going to give things away. And I'm hoping that when people hear me, they like me and they might want to do business with me, okay? But there's no kind of hard feelings if that doesn't happen, yeah? And it is a little bit hard to go, I'm going to do this each week, yeah? But I could not do it last week. I must admit, this week I was like, do it. And I went, I do it. Yeah. So you've got to be consistent, yeah?
Yeah.
This is me building my brand and my name. And I'm not saying that, again, let me make this very clear. Some people, this is not the right thing for you to do, but it could be the right thing for you, Mark.
Yeah.
Could be the right thing for you. But again, I think you need to go and look at the labour market information. I just don't have that information because I'm UK based. You need to work out, is what I want, does that exist for me? You might need to go back to basics. I don't have the answer to that question. Okay. But you could be going and saying, it could be, I'll get, again, another example that I was looking at somebody's profile today, and this person was an accountant. Yeah, it became clear this person was an accountant. Still couldn't work out who he was targeting. But then it was just missing the point of what is happening now. Yeah, the point for companies is probably survival.
Yeah.
But he wasn't mentioning that. So sometimes you need to really think, what's the most pressing issue now? So if anybody wants to have like a conversation with me, yeah, I do a complimentary session. You just send me a message, I'll put it in the chat box of my email. If you want that, I'm more than happy to do that. But that could be a way to look at it, Mark, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could package for you could package something up and say, okay, this amount. Yeah. You could, so I'll give you an example. Companies in the UK or any country, probably, that, what financial help is available for you and how to apply for it, and Yeah, I'm not saying that's what you're going to do. I'm not saying that, but that could be useful, for an accountant to look at.
Yeah.
And they could package that up, and that could stem the lead, and that just gets people through the door. What could be a quick win? You're talking about clients, Mark, which is maybe different from I don't know. It is different from Rebecca. Are you looking for a full-time job?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so different.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely have a chat with me, Rebecca. Let me look and let's see where we can focus on. Okay. who it is. Yeah,
Sounds good.
that you need to fix that. Now, I think Melanie Collier has just come onto the call, and we're just about to probably finish. So, Melanie, if you want to have a conversation with me, here's my email, susanberg@live.co.uk, and you can tell me your individual, it's complimentary. Get in touch with me. Offer that for everybody that's just come on here.
Okay.
And we can go from there. So, any other questions?
No, it's been great as always. Thank you very much, Susan.
Not a problem, not a problem.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Have a good day.
Rebecca.
Have a good day.
Okay, lovely speaking to you, everybody. Okay, and if you
Take care.
need me, just send me a message, and that goes to anybody that's not on the live stream as well when it's the report out. Okay. Okay, take care, Mark, and everybody else.
I'm sorry, the email one more time?
Yeah, not a problem. The email is Susan Burke. It's all one word, so it's SUSAN, and it's BURKE, and it's just there actually. I don't know if you can see the screen, and it's at live.co.uk. Oh,
Okay.
okay, come back in touch. Melanie, are you, it is Melanie that just spoke, is it?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just double checking. Yeah, just get in touch with me. Melanie, what are you looking for? Anything in particular?
No, it's all so recent for me. I'm just trying to learn about everything I can right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to have another session next week, okay? So jump on the call. I will send a message out. It was a bit ad hoc today, so don't worry about it, okay? Because I've got childcare issues.
Yes.
But I will send out a message to everybody, and if you want to have a complimentary chat, just let me know, okay?
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much.
Not a problem, okay? Take
Okay.
care, everybody.
You as
Unless
well.
you've got any other questions. I don't think so. Speak now. Okay, I think we're okay. So have a wonderful day, and thank you again for your time, okay?
Alrighty.
Bye, bye.